Earlier, we have gone through details about how to create a database by name itversity_reader_db, then user by name itversity_reader_user, and also how to grant permissions on the database to the user. It is not a good practice to use Postgres database and Postgres user to set up our application tables and data. It is because Postgres is super user. Using Postgres, you will be able to take care of deleting the databases, users, so on and so forth. It can cause adverse effects on your applications. Typically, the developers will not be having access to Postgres user in non-development environments. To understand the relevance of non-super users, let's go ahead and set up new server here. We'll be using localhost only because our Postgres database server is set up on localhost only. But when it comes to the database and user, we'll be using newly created database and user. Let me collapse this. Let me right click. Let me see if I can disconnect. There is disconnect from server. Let me click on it. It will take care of disconnecting from the locally set up Postgres database server using super user Postgres. We need to make sure we add one more server here. We should be able to say register and then click on server. Here we should be able to specify the name. Let me say Postgres 14 localhost, because we are connecting to Postgres database server which is set up locally. Then let's specify the context with respect to the user which we are using. In this case, it is nothing but itversity retail user. You can also just say retail user instead of giving the username. This is how you can define the names so that the names are meaningful. Now we need to go to the connection. As part of the connection, we have to specify the host name, port number, the database name, username, and also the password. When it comes to host name, as we are trying to connect to Postgres which is running locally, we have to use localhost. When it comes to port, our Postgres database server is running using default port which is nothing but 5432. Hence, we don't need to change port. When it comes to database, we have to change this to newly created database which is nothing but itversity_retail_db. When it comes to username, it is nothing but itversity_retail_user. Now we need to specify the password. The password is nothing but itversity. Let's click on this one so that the password is saved. Now we should be able to click on save. You see, it have not only saved, but it is also connected to the database. You can expand and you can actually see the itversity_retail_db here. The user is connected to this database automatically. Even though you do not understand all the relevant concepts that are covered in this lecture, one thing which you need to keep in mind is you are able to connect to the itversity_retail_db using non-super user, which is nothing but itversity_retail_user. In this case, this connection have only access to itversity_retail_db. You will be able to manage the tables and data within this database only. You just have to keep that in mind. You are not connected to a database using super user. In this case, you are connected to application database using application user. The application database name is nothing but itversity_retail_db. The application user is nothing but itversity_retail_user. When it comes to the script which we have executed earlier, it is still using the Postgres user and Postgres database. Now, when we add additional scripts here, we need to make sure we use appropriate connection. In this case, we can just right click on this and then say query tool. If you observe, you see the connection details here. These connection details are related to the new connection using which we are connected to the database. This is how we should be able to get started with newly registered database server with newly created database and user. We'll be using this database with this user to explore SQL further as part of this course.